Welcome to this evening's report or summary on the data for the coronavirus. And let's just get straight into it. And we're going to start off looking at Spain. So overall, the data is actually not looking as bad as yesterday. And yesterday I was a little bit shaken up, but today, less so. Still bad. We still have the virus around, but it's actually, there are some sort of like not disastrous signs either. If anything, at best, at worst, it's probably about the same as yesterday or no worse than yesterday. So Spain, for instance, has jumped up by less confirmed cases, up to 80,110, and their percentage is actually down under 10% for the first time in quite a while, possibly since they've been tracking coronavirus stats anyway. The number of deaths is still at around over 821 increase in total, and at a total of 6,800, 6,803 to be exact. Number of recovered has jumped up about 2,500 today, 14,709. Now, their recovered death rate is kind of getting close to their WHO death rate, but still a long way off. And you know how I feel about this stat anyway. It's kind of a meaningless stat. But these overall, when this virus, the closer this virus comes to being over, the closer these two stats, the recovered and the WHO death rate, are going to just like match up to each other. So we haven't really started to see that now in Spain. There's going to have to be a lot more people that recover or either pass away. So yeah, it's not nothing to celebrate yet, but it's still, at least it's not a disaster today. That's all I'm saying, really. If we go to the US, they actually went over 2,000 deaths yesterday for the first time. And today, let's see if there's still an update. Today, they are actually, so big news for the US, although they went up by about pretty much almost the same number of deaths as yesterday, 441 deaths, and that brings their total to 2,467. But they were up in their recovered numbers significantly. So their recovered death rate came down drastically from 65%. It's been hovering around about that 60 to 70% zone for a while now. It's just come down to 48%. So let's see how this will go in the next few days. 1.7% WHO death rate, that's still really low. That's the one they like to see, but it's because it's the one the media likes to see and the government likes to see, I guess, as well. But that's because they have a lot of confirmed cases. So the confirmed cases were up pretty much exactly the same as yesterday as well, but that brings down their confirmed growth because their number is up overall. So, interesting thing, I actually caught some of the White House press conference today at around 5:30, and so I heard the number of tests they do, and possibly, if you've joined me for one of these updates before, you might have heard me say that I'd love to actually have access to that data as well, because it's a bit hard to know how meaningful these confirmed cases are without actually having the total number of tests that have been done. Because it could be good news, it could be bad news, right? If there are like 10 million tests that have been done, then 140,000 is pretty low. But if there's like 150,000 tests that have been done, then 140,000 is pretty high. So today I heard that I think they said there was 840,000, so almost 1 million tests that have been done. So that's not bad, and that gives you an idea. Just a little bit over 10%, maybe 15 to 20%. I haven't done the exact math on it. Of people that have been tested actually come up positive. So not a disaster, but that still gives you some idea about how many people are actually coming up positive for this thing. And the US has got the most probably extensive and probably trustworthy data that we have so far. So not to say that other countries are less trustworthy and the US is always trustworthy, but it seems to be the most transparent data that we have so far. And it's not to say they're immune from mistakes either. There's got to be bunglings in the data, and even just another point that I've mentioned over the last few nights is that even Johns Hopkins University is talking about ceasing providing the number of recovered because they say that stat is unreliable. So, no country's data is immune to not being a little flawed, and that's an important thing I'm going to maintain when I give these summaries. So, looking at the global, there is a total confirmed of 727,410 confirmed cases. Yeah, it's actually, so I mean, yesterday it really peaked, 73,000. Now, today it's even down. I mean, given that this is about 10:30 at night Eastern Standard Time, and I just stopped tracking, and this clocks over the next day I am in the Eastern Standard Time, so that's what this data applies to, right? But I don't know, maybe we'll get up another 2,000, but yeah, we're not trying to beat every day, but I mean, like, generally, now we're seeing a bit of a sawtooth pattern, like where this is going up, down again. So, and it's the same kind of story in the percentage, in the delta growth as well. So, yeah, it's sometimes when that happens, it can be an indication that that the trend is about reverse, but not necessarily. It could come up for like a second breath of air. So, as I've maintained, 1 or 2 days, a trend does not make. So, let's just see hold our breath until it's like 3, 4, or 5 days, of a pattern. And that's when you can kind of like, I guess, have more of a solid, determination of what the pattern's like. So the number of deaths, so this is down a little bit as well. Number of deaths is actually 34,104 in total, but the deaths increase is down to pretty much almost the same as it was 2 days ago on Friday. And it might get to that figure in the next 1.5 hours, I don't know. But either way, it's pretty much on par. It's not gonna, unless something crazy happens, it's not gonna exceed yesterday's number. So this as well, the deaths growth has dropped dramatically too. And that's the lowest it's been since 17th of March. So it has gone up rapidly in March overall. Once it came up to double figures past 10%, the first time on the 17th of March, then it's pretty much stayed above 10%. But this is the first time it's dropped back down to 10%. Now this could be an anomaly. So yeah, I've said that before. Anyway, I said that just then. Just one day does not a pattern make. So recovered is not as high as yesterday as well. So it's not all good news, because you would want your recovered. You would want your recovered to increase, but your deaths to decrease. So your actual recovered death rate has actually climbed a little bit to 17.9%. Even your WHO death rate, which again is a stat that I don't like that much, but even your WHO death rate has climbed up to 4.5%. Incubation rate has hardly adjusted, but it's gone up a little bit to 16.8%. But look at this. So if you're looking at the recovered death rate, again, you could say that it's flattening out a little bit, and that's definitely what I've seen on the media today. So like some of the reports are actually getting this right as well, which is promising when the media is looking at data rather than trying to create headlines. But the curve is flattening a little bit, because this is going up, and then just like this is around about 17% for the last 3 days. So granted, it's still going up slightly, but still, I mean, just like it's not going up as rapidly, right? So that's, I think, all I have to talk about with the data there. I don't think there was anything else in my mind. So with that, let's just go to Reddit. And these are some threads on Reddit that caught my attention. One of them on the coronavirus subreddit is confirmed coronavirus cases is an almost meaningless metric. Now, this is from Bloomberg Opinion, and I'm glad that the media is catching on to what I've been saying. But, granted, I'm not on their radar. I get less than 50 views a night so far. So, they came to this conclusion themselves, and that's good. But this has been the point of my frustration. If you kind of saw me last night, I was visibly irritated a little bit because of I found that the media, I was finding the media was a little bit like 2 steps behind everything. So they're finally saying, because they like to quote this confirmed cases, and it's really meaningless. I mean, it's a little bit good, but I mean, again, it was good that I think the White House briefing actually tells us every day how many tests I've done, because Trump likes to brag, and that's a bit of a brag. I mean, increase in tests, because he was getting quite a bit of heat from that. But unfortunately, Johns Hopkins University, which is the source of the data that I get for the spreadsheet, doesn't actually supply that. So if I catch the media announcement, then I know what it is. If I don't, I don't know. So yeah, I don't include it in the spreadsheet for that reason, because I'm not in the I want the data to be more consistent. I don't really want to chase down, press announcements every time I'm trying to go for that stat. So, but yeah, it's good that they're actually starting to catch on to that. So that's kind of positive. They're kind of challenging that that statistic being sort of meaningful. Now, onto another one is on the Wuhan flu subreddit. So yes, I think Reddit mods might be biased, but this irritates me a little bit. I mean, like, I don't really like to see. Okay, one thing I got to commend coronavirus subreddit from is that they've been pretty consistent on this rule number 4 here. Or, I mean, all their rules, right? But some of their rules are like worse than others. Or some of them are a little bit more annoying for me. Obviously, this rule number 4 is annoying for other people, but I actually think it's refreshing because it does get in the way of scientific discussion. It does get in the way of actually what's happening because people want to try and slander their, the political party of. They want to support the political party of choice, and I think that's kind of a primitive approach. I don't think there's any room for that in intelligent evolution. So, but that's just some kind of tangent that I should say for another day. But sure enough of discuss political decisions and the government and what they're doing. But when things become puff pieces, like somebody starts a thread on one quote one politician says, and it's just ridiculous. So that's one thing I give them credit for. But this is an example about how, and I don't really care. I mean, just if it's the opposite effect. So apparently what happened today is that on the Pic subreddit, both President Xi from China and President Trump from US were posted as a coronavirus meme, which is kind of funny. So, but apparently only one of them got removed, and that was the Trump virus pic. It was the Z virus pic, but it only got 8.4 upvotes, 8.4k upvotes, obviously because it was removed. But even if it's the opposite, if Trump got taken down and Z stayed up, I would still be pretty, I think it's ridiculous. I don't think that, especially on the same subreddit where you get the same mods, I don't think that if Reddit is the best place that we can have discussion, it's not very good. We're at a low point. We're still at a pretty low point in our evolution as a species. It's got to be an unbiased discussion forum that has got to be the biggest place for chat. That's just my opinion. So that's why this caught my attention. Another one on coronavirus FOSS is Bruce Aylward. So he's scrubbed from the WHO website after sabotage an interview. So this is refreshing. I don't know if he's actually being reprimanded by WHO, but if you caught my update yesterday, I got really annoyed about this guy because he didn't even want to discuss Taiwan. It's not like the reporter, he was asked a question from a reporter, and it's not like she asked him to say something that was anti-China about it. She just asked about the numbers, and he just walked away or hung up the phone call, I think. So he's been reprimanded at least in a way that scrubs him off the website, but I'm not sure if this is an official slap on the wrist or premature firing, or not premature, but rightful due firing. So, but yeah, I'm pretty... they get a lot of heat for this, so it'll be pretty sort of tone deaf if they don't take any action on this guy, even if they actually support him behind closed doors. But it wouldn't surprise me if they're still trying to sort of portray that image on the surface about, no, we're not really behind this guy. But so anyway, next one on CV News is something about estimates show Wuhan. So this is something, again, I've touched on, but this is actually, it's good when I think subreddits actually post content from that is under paywall, because they posted the link to the source, but again, the poster, the original poster just posted the whole content of the article. So that's kind of cool, but it's titled, Estimates Show Wuhan Death Toll Far Higher Than Official Figures. Based on cremation figures, Wuhan residents estimate more than 40,000 have died compared with an official toll of 2535. So Yeah, that as you might have seen from my updates, the China numbers dropped off rapidly, almost magically. So something is weird. Either they really found a cure to the virus and they've kept it a secret, or they're fudging their numbers or something. So, yeah, one of the outcomes is going to be pretty. Both of the outcomes are going to be pretty extreme. But yeah, this is all still based on an estimate, so I'm not going to read the whole thing out, but it's on here on the CV News subreddit. So yeah, check that out if you're interested in that. On the coronavirus subreddit again, how do you say his name? Is it Fauci or Forky? I don't know. But this doctor guy is on the task force for apparently the White House's coronavirus team. And apparently he predicts millions of coronavirus cases in US and more than 100,000 deaths. Now, I thought that, I haven't actually read this article, but I thought that he predicted 2 million, but that was a worst case scenario. And so a lot of people were upset to hear that, but it's refreshing to actually get that out on the chest, and then anything that's better is a better solution or an improvement on that. So yeah, it's like that saying, expect the worst and hope for the best, or and so when the best happens, then you get to celebrate, but when the worst happens, you're actually at least prepared for it, even though it's going to be a sucky situation. And lastly, this is I haven't really been on Twitter a lot today, but they caught my attention by this. So it's a venture capital firm I follow, and they say, imagine complaining about 25 million donations. So some TikToker just, apparently Mark Zuckerberg donated $25 million. And this TikToker is making a point of just putting a drop from a cup in a glass, and then she gives this real stink eye into the camera as if to say, wow, that's nothing. But look, it's one thing if billionaires don't really donate enough. It's another thing if they don't donate anything. And I think I don't like the attitude of just complaining about everything. You got to sort of give credit where it's due, I think. Maybe you can actually say, hey, well done, and then say, what about donating more? But just to sort of say, what about donating more is, I think, pretty poor. Again, it goes into that whole sort of unevolved or unintelligent sort of attitude, I think, that is sort of like a put down on the human race. But anyway, the main thing is that and I'm glad somebody mentioned this, but imagine thinking Zuck owns $81 billion in cash. Now, don't make me defend billionaires. I really hate, that so much wealth is concentrated in, such a few amount of people. It's actually affected me quite a lot, and it's made me, sort of, question a lot of my place in the world. And, obviously, and if the more wealth that is more concentrated, the more you have to know someone, the more network you have to have, and the more of a, the less of a meritocracy it's going to be. And yeah, so it's not good in general. But, this is, if you're going to make a point, at least understand how net worth works. He might have net worth of $81 billion. He's not sitting on a pile of cash. He doesn't have access to that money. It's just it's his value in his company. Yeah, even if he wanted to sell that and cash out all of it, I'm not sure what the rules are, but he has to do it over a period of time. He can't just buy all his stock at once, or sell all his stock at once, sorry. It has to be over months or many years, and even then he's probably going to get his ass suit off if he just sold all his stock and just walked away with $81 billion in a gold suitcase somewhere, So really dumb things get really a lot of tweets. This one got, look at this, so 41,000 and 135 likes. So point made. Billionaires suck, but at least know what you're talking about. That's the thing. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. Not disastrous news, even though the virus, still think the virus is in for a bit of a long haul, and I wouldn't go around dancing in the parks yet and celebrating, but at least it gives some kind of hope that the curve can flatten, even if it's going to go out tomorrow. At least to see these little signs along the way is good, just to sort of see that it's not just one disastrous day after another. Okay, so I'll be giving this update about the same time tomorrow, and thanks for watching and stay safe. See ya.